So since tonight is the Shloshim, my grandmother, Bas Rachel Bas Reb Moshe Mordechai, I wanted to share something which I think reflects her unique persona, her unique contribution to myself, to all those who she taught and she nurtured. There's no one I thought about more in my life than my grandmother. I prayed, I don't know if you're allowed to do this or not, but 3 times a day for the last 35 years more, I mentioned her name in prayer, asking God should help her and give her gesund, and she's a very, very remarkable woman. What's wrong with that? I don't know, you certain times you're allowed to, not. I didn't look it up. It could be you have to check it out. I'll check it out. But she was 98 when she passed away.
Where was she born?
Yeah. Anyways, so my grandfather, Olav Shalom, shared something in common with her, but it's very different. My grandfather, people love my grandfather because he was able to see good in you. You want to be around him because you saw the good in you. My grandmother also saw the good in you, but she also taught you. My grandfather accepted you. My grandmother taught you. She said about her mother would just give her a look, and that's by her looking at you a certain way, that was enough. She said her mother never raised her voice. Her mother didn't have to say anything. Just gave her a look, not even saying her name, just looking at her a certain way, and she knew where she had to be. My grandmother had a look too, but I think that I don't know if I was receptive enough to learn from things that just her way she looked, but she said something and you remembered it. She said a few choice words, and you remember those words and they stayed with you. Someone very close to me, for example, was interested in a certain shidduch, and my grandmother looked at him and she said to him, "You could do a lot better for yourself." And that changed the course of history for this, and I was end. And recently I was on a flight, and I came back from the international, what did you say, Shol? I came back from the international conference of Chabad rabbis of Shloshim last week. I was on a flight. When I came up to my seat, there was a row with 3 seats, and there was a couple. Each was sitting on the 2 ends of the 3 seats. The woman closer to the window and the man closer to the aisle. And when I come, they both give a big oi. I'm like, why are they giving me an oi? I'm the middle seat. So they're like, no, we're together. We're together, and therefore we're going to sit closer to each other because we're together. Anyways, I learned from the last flight. The last flight I was on, I asked someone towards the end of the flight if she was Jewish, and it was at the very end of the flight, and she said, "I'd rather not talk about it." So if I would ask that question at the beginning of the flight, then it might have been different. So I said, I'm going to ask right away, "You guys Jewish?" So it turns out he is not Jewish, and she is Jewish. Oh, you're Jewish, and you're together. That doesn't sound so good. Where are you from? So we have a conversation, and the conversation is over him. And he's a bit of a, how should we say, jerk? That's a nice way of saying. He's like, if you want to talk to her, then let's switch seats. Now imagine, he's supposed to be together with her. He's like, switch seats. So I'm thinking that's not the most modest thing to do, sit next to her. It's also probably not such a good idea better that he be the bad guy. No, it's okay. We don't need to. Okay. And so he ended up, and he's apologizing. I just, you're talking over me, so whatever. And so, anyways, but the fight went on, and I wanted to say something to her about this. I figured divine providence. She comes from a religious Orthodox background. She went to Jewish school. She knows better. But I wanted to say something to her. What could I possibly say to her? And especially with him around. So at one point in the flight, he went to the restroom, and I said to her, "Your name is Rachel, my grandmother. What's your mother's name?" "Tova." "Rachel Bas Tova, I wanted to ask you for your name, because I wanted to pray for you." "Oh, thank you. I wanted to pray for you that you should find your soulmate." So she looks at me, and she says, "He's the guy." So what am I going to say? He's a jerk? He was a jerk. What should I say? I said, "You could do a lot better for yourself." and she said, she got the message. I didn't say anything else. She got those words my grandmother used. She got the message. She said, "Maybe, Rabbi, maybe, maybe today." It was a message that my grandmother similarly throughout her life, she was able. I would say her genre of teaching and instruction was excellence. She wasn't satisfied with mediocrity. She wanted you to give your best. She believed in your best, and she also not just encouraged you. She looked at you. She brought out your best with the words that she said, with the way she looked at you. She was able to bring out that into you. So I think it's very relevant to this week's Torah portion. A lot of people feel when things don't go so well financially, things don't go so well with their social life, with trying to find their soulmate, with when things aren't going so well in health. So things aren't the way you dreamed your life would be. So what happens is that people get very upset, they get very depressed, and they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do with themselves. They feel like their life is not the way it's supposed to be, and they don't know how to understand where they are because they envision life so differently, and they're not where they're meant to be. So I wanted to share with you tonight something that could really change our lives. In this week's Torah portion, one word the Torah uses this week, one word that mamish could literally change your life. The word the Torah uses this week is the word makom. Makom literally means place or space, but not a physical space, but your place in the world. Your place that only you could fill, no one else could fill. Something that Hashem has designated for you, because this is where if you don't fill this space, it's going to be empty because it's meant for you. This week, we read about how Yaakov Avinu is running away from his brother Esav, and he leaves his father's home in Beersheba, beautiful, wonderful environment, and he runs away to Haran, and there, on the way, your father's outside, I think, he's calling me. There, he has a dream. In the dream, God appears to him, and God says to him that I'm going to watch over you, Ushmarticha, I'm going to watch over to where every place you go, I'm going to bring you back to your father's house. Everything's going to be good with you, I'm going to give you all that you need. God promises him everything that he's going to need. And Yaakov famously sees the ladder with the angels going up, angels going down. And the Torah says, Vayifka b'makom. Vayifka b'makom, Rashi explains that Yaakov prayed. What did Yaakov pray? Avram instituted the prayer of the morning Shachris. Yitzchak, the prayer of the afternoon Mincha. What did Yaakov institute? Yaakov instituted Ma'ariv, the evening prayer. Vayifka b'makom means that Yaakov prayed in that space. Vayifka b'makom, in this space, Yaakov prayed. What is the reason that Yaakov instituted this prayer? And why did he institute this prayer at this time? How old was Yaakov at this point? Anybody know? 63. Very good. Wow. Yes. He's 63 years old. How come he only made this prayer now? How come his father, Yitzchak, didn't make the prayer? How come his grandfather, Avner, didn't make the prayer? Why did he only make this prayer now at this point of his life? Why did he make the prayer before? And also, what does Yaakov say when he wakes up from his dream? What does Yaakov say? Indeed, God's here. I didn't know. What didn't you didn't know? You didn't know that God's everywhere? What didn't you know? God is no God's here? What doesn't he know exactly? And also, the Torah repeats the story. Last week, at the end of the Torah portion, it says, Yaakov was sent by his father to come here. Why does the Torah repeat over here again? Yaakov departed, and he came to this space, and we know that. And in the last week's Torah portion, it says that Esav wanted to kill him, and Yaakov runs away. Why does the Torah repeat this again over here? Yaakov leaves Beersheba and comes to Haran. What's the reason for the repetition? So, to understand this, let's look at the Medrash. The Medrash says that Vayifka b'makom means Yaakov went to the space. Vayifka means Yaakov met the space. What does it mean Yaakov met the space? What space did he meet? Yaakov says in Medrash, the whole world was like a wall to him. He felt like he hit a brick wall. The whole world, he wanted to go further. Bikesh lavar, he wanted to go further, but the whole world became a wall. He couldn't go anywhere. What does that mean? On the surface, just on the surface, simply we understand what happened. When Yaakov left his father's house, okay, of course he leaves his father's house, it's not fun. But besides that, on the way there, Esau sent Eliphaz, his son, to go attack and kill Yaakov. And Yaakov had the entire wealth. His father was fabulously wealthy. Yaakov had the entire wealth of his father. And on the way there, Eliphaz caught up to him, and Eliphaz says, I got to kill you. My father said to kill you. And Yaakov said, well, according to the Torah, when you take away their money, it's considered halachically like killing them. So this will be enough to just take away my money, and you'll do the mitzvah of honoring your father that way. So he listens, and Yaakov gives him everything. So Yaakov is now trying to find this place called Haran. He has no possessions at all. He has to travel through a place of bandits and wild animals and everything like that. And Yaakov finally arrives in this space. Can you imagine, to Yaakov, the whole world felt like a wall. He has nothing left. He went from living in the lap of love and connection and fabulously wealthy, and now he is completely emptied. So the world is like a wall. And the Torah says the sun goes down. The sun doesn't just go down physically, the sun goes down spiritually. Yaakov feels it's all gone. It's all not here. And the truth is that there are two components to the soul's mission in the world. And these two components are the end of last week's Torah portion and the beginning of this week's Torah portion. The end of last week's Torah portion, which is called Toldos, what does Toldos mean? The children. It talks about Yaakov as a child of Yitzchak. Yaakov as he's connected to his father. Yaakov's mission is seen in the context of last week's Torah portion. You're being sent by your father. Remember where you come from. Remember who you are. That's a context of last week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion, what's it called? Vayetze. Vayetze means not about remember where you come from. Vayetze is about you're going out of yourself. You're going away from everything you're familiar with. You're going away from all that is you. You're going away from you, and you're focusing instead on the mission that Hashem has given you. The context, the content of this Torah portion is not remember where you came from, but focus on what you need to do. It's not about your connection to the past. It's about the opposite. It's about the details and the circumstances of where you are. And that's why the Torah says that the angels, when in Yaakov's dream, going up and down, up and down. One of the meanings of up and down is they're one going up and down in heaven. They're going up and down over Yaakov. Rabbi Huna b'shem Rabbi Ami says, "Hu mekoyim shel olam ve'ina makam olam mekoyim." Hashem is the space of the world is not his space. The angels were going over Yaakov. Like, 1 second, this doesn't make any sense. They would go up. What's Hil Binyamin up? What's the up of Hil Binyamin? Look at Hil Binyamin's soul in Shemayim. Whenever I meet Jews, I ask Jews, what's your name? And Jews inevitably, when I'm brought up with a Jewish background, they're like, my name is Brad, Fred, Jim. And I say, what's your real name? And they laugh, ha ha ha, my real name. No, that's your real name. That's the name of your soul. That's who you are. That's your soul's name. That's reality. So the angels go up means the angels looked at the source of Jacob's soul. They looked at who he was in heaven. And they looked at Jacob over here. What's Jacob doing over here? He's sleeping. And it seems like from the Medrash that Jacob's sleep was very deep. It wasn't just that he was sleeping, but again, the departure of where he came from and the new surroundings where he is, he's now in a different space. He's down departed from who he was before. And the angel's like, something doesn't make sense over here. This is who he was, and this is who he is. It doesn't make sense. There's some dissonance, there's some change, there's some dissonance between where Jacob comes from and where Jacob is. He left. He's somewhere else. He's not the same guy. However, the Torah says, "Vayifka b'makim." What does Yaakov do over there in this place? He lost everything. What does Yaakov do? Yaakov invents the prayer of Ma'ariv. How does he invent the prayer of Ma'ariv? Vayifka b'makim. He hits the space. What's the meaning of the word space? Again, the Talmud says, Rav Huna says, Hashem is a space of the world. Everything in the world has a space. Has a space. The cup has a space. The table has a space. The paper has a space. A person has a space that he's on. But beyond the physical space, even intellect needs a space. The mind exists in the world of intellect. Everything needs a space for it to exist. The world exists in time and space. And Hashem makes everything exist. In the girls, I take the carpool in the Oil Khana. They always touch girly. They always discuss girly stuff. I don't know about all this girly stuff. It's interesting to me to hear their discussions. So I wanted to go to get makeup at Sephora, and the first thing I got was foundation. Like, oh, that's interesting. Foundation. What's foundation? The first thing there is of anything is there is the space. There's a space that it's on. The foundation. In order for anything to exist, Hashem makes it exist. And how often does He make it exist? Baal Shem Tov taught us, every second Hashem brings the world into existence, every item and every moment, Hashem is bringing everything into existence. So Hashem is a space of the world. Everything is upon something. For it to exist, it has to be on a space. But more, the word space doesn't just mean existence, that you're brought into to be here. The word space doesn't just mean the floor that you're walking on, that Hashem brings you into existence. When you say Hashem is a space of the world, what that means is that Hashem gives every creature its own space. The world was created, the Torah says, for the sake of Torah and the Jewish people. In general. What about Daniel Namvar? What's he doing here? Daniel Namvar. Daniel Namvar. Why are you here? The world is created for Torah and the Jewish people. Why is Chaim here? Why is Daniel here? Why is David here? Why am I here? I have my space that I need to fill, that my role is to fulfill. The world is created for Torah and the Jewish people. So I'm here to fulfill that role, and the mitzvahs that I need to do, and the mission I need to do, my neshama, and that's the space I'm in. So this is very powerful let's break this down. That means, number one, that means that you have a role to play. You have a role to play that only you can fulfill. If you don't fulfill that role, no one else does it. Number two, it doesn't matter what someone else is doing. Your role is different than my role. Everyone has their own role, and no one's role touches anyone else's role. Everyone's role is different. And number three, if you're in a space, in a juncture, in a circumstance, and you don't see what the purpose is, open your heart and ask Hashem and close your eyes, because it's impossible that you're in a space and there's no role. Because Hashem is a space of the world. Hashem gives every single creature its space. It says in the Mishnah these words: Ein lecha davar she'ein lei makim ve'ein lecha adam she'ein leisha. There's no thing that does not have a space. No such thing as a thing that doesn't have a space. What's the meaning of space? A purpose. There are different names of Hashem. The word makim also means Hashem's name. In fact, the word makim is Hashem's name, Yud Ke Vav Ke squared. Yud times Yud, and plus Hein times Hey, plus Vav times Vav, plus Hey times Hey is how much? 186, no? No? I tell you, at Balatum, 186, Kupe Vav. So, there are names of Hashem which talk about Hashem as beyond creation. The names of Hashem which talk about how Hashem makes the world. But the name of Hashem which is about the godliness in the world, the energy of Hashem in creation, is Makim. Makim is the name of Hashem within creation. So the idea of Hashem giving each of us our space means that Hashem gives each of us in every moment of our lives. There's no person who doesn't have his hour. Every hour of your life, every moment of your life, it's for a purpose. In fact, the Hebrew word shah, you know what the word shah also means? Shah means to turn. Like it says in the Torah, Vayisha Hashem turned to Hevel. So any person, Chassidus says, could always turn to Hashem. There's no such thing as a person who cannot turn to Hashem. No such thing as being in a situation where you can connect. And that's why Yaakov made Ma'ariv. He didn't make Ma'ariv before. Avram didn't make Ma'ariv. He didn't need to make Ma'ariv. Yaakov didn't need to make Ma'ariv when he was in the yeshiva, Shem and Aver. In Shem and Aver's yeshiva, there's no darkness. Who needs Ma'ariv there? Only when Yaakov comes over here and he leaves his father's house and everything, the sun is set and things are so complicated and things are so confusing and the world hits him like a wall. Then the Torah says, Yaakov says, I need to clarify something. I need to clarify that even in this darkness, Hashem is with me. And I need to connect to Hashem. And there's a purpose of why I'm here. It's not an accident. Ein lecha davar she'ein lei makim. There's no such thing, there's no possibility of something that doesn't have a purpose, doesn't have content, doesn't have meaning. So Yaakov establishes the prayer of Ma'ariv. Yaakov establishes that you can connect to Hashem in a circumstance that seems dark. The Medrash says something beautiful. The Medrash says, why did God make the sun set before its time? The Torah says that the sun set, but the Talmud says it set before its time. It wasn't just it happened to set, it set early. Why did it set early? Anybody know what the Medrash says? Beautiful thing the Medrash says.
So that Yaakov would sleep in that place.
Okay, that's what Rashi says. That's what the Medrash says. The Medrash says a parable. A king has someone he loves very much. He loves him so much, when the person comes, the king says, turn off all the lights. I want to talk to him privately. You hear? So Yaakov comes after he's bereft of all his possessions. He left his father's house. And Hashem said, I want to talk to him. I want to talk to him. You know what that means? There's a couple from Belgium. Rabbi Shati Savatiski shared about a couple in his community that they whatever it was, they're wonderful people, but they were accused of something and they were sent to jail. Or They were going to be sent to jail for 4 years. Husband and wife. They have children. So it's a major tragedy. Husband and wife going to jail for 4 years, little kids at home. So they call up the rabbi. Rabbi, what do we do? What do we do? So the rabbi is a very unique rabbi, very special rabbi. He says to them, he tells the husband, he said, I want you to think for a minute. I want to ask you, if God would send you a letter, what would he write in the letter? What do you think God would write in the letter if God would send you a letter? And I want you to share with me, please, if you could, what God would send to you in a letter. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu tzarech lecha mechtav, ma yoikativ? Ken. Something we should all do, no? Think about that. Well, if God would write you a letter today, what would he write to you? What would he tell you? Think. Okay, fantastic. Everyone has a different thing they'll feel. That's what he felt.
That's what he said.
What he felt was that Hashem, what he came back was, be patient, everything's going to work out. Be patient, everything will work out. And you know what? It worked out. Thank God. They got off for free. Got off for nothing. Not only that, they threw out the case. The case was thrown out of court. They threw out the whole thing. That's the idea.
Drink for that.
Where's your l'chaim? So, but that's not the point. That's not the point. You're right. That is a point. But the point is, Shaul, he got there because he stopped, he breathed, he opened his heart, he said, what is Hashem writing to me? So Rabbi Savtitsky, he shared the story and asked everyone at Ephraim, he says, everyone share with me, what would God write to you? One guy wrote, Hashem wrote to me that you woke up this morning, it means I need you. Another guy wrote, everyone wrote something else, but they felt that Hashem was writing to them. It's a powerful idea. You open your heart and think, what is Hashem saying to you? Because there's no such a thing as circumstance in your life doesn't have a purpose. There's a purpose why you're here. So what happens? Yaakov is in this very dark place. Hashem makes it dark. Why does Hashem make it dark? Because when you have someone you love, Hashem said, I want to speak to them privately. What is privately? I want to speak to Yaakov. Sometimes you only have a conversation when everything is dark. Sometimes a conversation you have with Hashem is specifically when everything is dark. Specifically when you have no idea where to go, sometimes only there can you have that deeper conversation with Hashem. That's the way it is. We don't have to choose to go that way, Chaim. Don't worry. We can have a conversation in better ways also. But Hashem turned off all the lights. Hashem told Yaakov, I want to be closer to you. I want to talk to you deeper. I don't want to talk to you external. I want to talk to you deeper. And how do I talk to you deeper? I turn off the lights. There's a line in the Torah, you'll go to the place that Hashem chooses, v'kamta v'alisa, you'll get up and you'll go there. So the simple meaning of the verse is, you get up and you go to Jerusalem. However, you know what the verse means, the place you go, that Hashem chooses, you know the place Hashem chooses, the place you're in right now, that's the place Hashem chooses. And you know you need to do it about that place, v'kamta, to get up, to open your heart and have to ask Hashem, what's this space for? And when you ask that question, you open yourself up to going somewhere. It's specifically in these kind of places where you have no idea what the point of those places are, and everything seems the opposite. That's where something deeper happens. There's a line in the blessings of Moshe Rabbeinu, "Mitachas reis elam." Tachas reis elam. Simple translation of the word is, and under the world there are these reis, there are these arms that hold the world. Mitachas reis elam. What does that mean? There's arms that hold the world. What does that mean? Sigma Master said like this. Everyone there's some people which are walking on the world. They feel strong in the place they're walking on. They feel like, I got it. Some people have been swept off the world. They feel like they're knocked off, they're not on the world. So the Chassidic masters say that specifically when you're knocked off, that's when you disconnect with Zroyos. That's when you connect with the power of Hashem. The Alter Rebbe had a follower, I'll conclude with this. Alter Rebbe had a follower who, for whatever reason, he had very deep challenges in his Judaism. And the way I heard the story was, I remember the story, I remember all details, the Alter Rebbe personally was involved in bringing him back to Torah. And the Alter Rebbe helped him. And he brought this person from the pits of hell to being gates of heaven. Zeshar Shamayim. So the other Chassidim were jealous. They're like, they took care of that guy, what about me? Yeah. So the way I remember the story, I hope I remember correctly, the Alter Rebbe said like this, when a shepherd takes a sheep out to pasture, and a sheep moves a little bit away from the flock, so the shepherd prods the sheep along. But if a sheep falls into a pit, the shepherd has no choice Shepherd has to ignore all the other sheep and to go down into the pit and put the sheep on his shoulders. So Alter Rebbe was basically saying that the reason why he got this attention wasn't because of favoritism, it was because he needed more. And so too in ourselves, when we reach a situation like, wow, what does this mean? How could this possibly be? It's the lights are off. It's precisely when the lights are off that Hashem has a deeper conversation with us. That conversation isn't possible when everything is just regular. That's why the Torah says, interesting thing. What did Yaakov see in his dream? What did he see? No? You know what he saw in his dream? No, what did he see? He saw a ladder. What's the difference between ladder and steps? With steps, when you go up steps, you look up. When you go down steps, where do you look?
Jacob's right.
You look down, you go down steps. Here Yachaim. But Yaakov saw a ladder. What's the idea of a ladder? That he's going down. When you go down a ladder, you look up when you go down a ladder too. You don't go look down, you go down. You look up, you go down a ladder. So the idea of Yaakov looking up and going down a ladder means that even when a Jew is going down, he sees that he has it already. He's got knocked off of his game. He has to realize, no, it's precisely in this moment Hashem is giving the ability to go up. Even I'm not being knocked down, I'm going down. But this going down is for the purpose of going up. This is the idea of Ma'ariv. We daven Ma'ariv tonight, we daven Ma'ariv tomorrow night. But the inner meaning of Ma'ariv, what's the words we say in Ma'ariv? We say in Ma'ariv with these words. With Hashem's wisdom, he opens up gates. Like in Yaakov's dream. Yaakov said, this Shloshim is the gate of heaven. What was the gate of heaven? Yaakov said, Yaakov said the gate of heaven. How does the gate of heaven happen? Hashem changes time. When the time changes, and things aren't the way you want them to be, and things it seems to be like you're locked off the whole circuit. That's how Pesach Shiarim. That's how the gates open. The gates open specifically when Ma'aver maybe Loyas. Rebbe Rashab says, Hashem moved away the light before the tzimtzum to bring the tzimtzum. And the tzimtzum, the contraction, the concealment of Hashem's light, that specifically is what brings out something deeper. As we say in Tehillim, Lahage B'ikar Chazdecha, we see God's kindness in the morning. What brings out our faith in Hashem specifically when you don't see, when you're not aware. And what happens to Yaakov? He gets a bracha from Hashem. What's a bracha from Hashem? You should be extraordinarily successful. To the east, to the west, to the north, to the south. The bracha he got was specifically when he was down, the sun is set, everything's opposite. And there he held on. There he made Ma'ariv. There is where he received his bracha of Ufaratzta. That's where he received different kind of connection to Hashem. And what did Yaakov say? Hashem is here. Of course Hashem is here. No. Yesh Havayim Makam Ezeh. Yuki Vavki is Hashem's name of mercy. Yaakov, like, this wasn't the place of mercy. This was the place of the opposite of mercy. Now that Hashem appears to Yaakov, and Hashem tells Yaakov, I'm going to be with you, and I'm with you, and it's going to work, and you have these extraordinary blessings, Yaakov realizes that the whole thing he went through was actually the mercy of Hashem. Till this point, Yaakov thought this was darkness, this was impossible. But now Yaakov discovered, Yaakov discovered this is actually the mercy of Hashem. So the bottom line is, my dear friends, we got to be aware of who is going with us all the time. To be aware of our tremendous inner strength that we always have. I would say that's the number one thing my grandmother taught me and everyone she encountered. You don't realize the koichas pnimi, the word she used. The words are chassidus, but she used those words often. You have koichas pnimi, you have inner strength. You have inner strength in yourself. Don't give in to mediocrity. Know your true value. Look at who you really are. Don't give in to where you were yesterday and realize you are like in Yaakov's dream. The angels go up, the angels go down. You have to also look up at who you really are and realize what kind of tremendous treasure you have in yourself. And that's how we greet Mashiach, realizing there's a spark of Mashiach in you. And that's what you're about. And it is a mission. You have a specific, it's hard. But dafka, specific where you are, in that space, where the lights are off, that's where the bracha comes. The bracha of Mashiach, ufaratzi yom v'kedma. I never forget hearing these words from the Rebbe, by Simchas Torah. I didn't know about this line. And when I grew up in Worcester, we said the verses before Hakafas, Atar Esel Adas, and the first time I heard the verse that the Rebbe says by Hakafas, I'm sure you're familiar, was when I was by the Rebbe. All of a sudden, the Rebbe adds a verse. We add a verse before Hakafas that we say, the Rebbe instituted. The bracha, The Rebbe says, the bracha Hashem tells Yaakov, your children will be like dust of the earth, and you will spread to the east, to the west, north, and the south. And we see this happening in the world. We see the light of the Rebbe shining more and more and more every day in every place in the world. This is the bracha Mashiach. This is the bracha that we're experiencing. Just realize we're part of it. The world was created for us in this time, in this space, this time of redemption, time of Geula. Got to realize who we are. We were chosen from the whole creation to be at the end of the exile, to be the ones to bring Mashiach, to see Mashiach. L'chaim, l'chaim, v'rachim.